preseason game number 44 on your 44. With the lightning crackling all around, we welcome you back to Tampa Stadium and say hi again, everybody. Certainly a stadium, Chris Collinsworth, that would not be here without the tremendous civic commitment and dedication of the late Hugh Culverhouse. A poet might say all the rain that we've had here this afternoon are simply tears for Mr. C, who knows he can't be out on the field with his players that he loved so much. You've been in the locker room. You've talked with Sam. This has been a tough week emotionally.
It really has. And you start the week, midweek, Tim Irwin's father passed away. He, of course, has now gone back to be with his family. And then the untimely death of Mr. Culverhouse. They had the Meet the Buccaneers luncheon today before this ball game. Sam was very honest. He said, I don't know how my team is going to react emotionally. Right now in this locker room, not a lot of happy people.
As a player, as a coach, how do you get yourself back up given the emotional baggage that everybody's had this week?
Well, there's really a lot on the line for this ball game. You have to remember it is the 4th preseason game. Obviously, a lot of jobs at stake. Sam Wyche would love to see his team finish on a good note. They looked super last week in Miami. You add to that the fact a couple of players. Eric Rett is going to get an opportunity to prove himself tonight, is going to play most of the football game. And Trent Dilfer, this may well be his last opportunity to play quarterback for the Buccaneers well into the season, so he wants to make a good impression as well. There's plenty to play for here tonight.
And it all starts very soon. The kickoff is coming up next. The cut-down date, Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock. So some battles to be won and lost. The Bucs and the Jets next on your 44.
The Bucs are here. WTOG Channel 44 Sports presents Tampa Bay Buccaneer football. Today's game is being brought to you by your local Lincoln Mercury dealers and by your Tampa Mazda dealers.
Jets with Boomer Esiason and Jack Trudeau. There's a couple of names that you know, but of course Jack Trudeau from a different team. And what would New York be without a quarterback controversy?
They've got one early this season. Boomer Esiason will go into the season as a starter. I talked to Pete Carroll just before the ball game, the new head coach of the Jets. But Jack Trudeau has worked his way into the hearts of New York Jet fans. He has been simply spectacular so far during the exhibition season. You can see there's no problem between those two guys, but as you well know, you live in New York, you know how it is. They love to get it stirred up in the media there.
Jack said it's not something that should get started. When I came to New York, my role was clearly defined. Boomer's number 1, I'm 1B. Boomer's the guy, and I can live with that. All I want to do is help. We'll give you the stats on the two as the game unfolds. But the Bucs have won the toss. They will receive, and it'll be the veteran, 15 years out of Dartmouth, Nick Lowry. Quite a find by the Jets and an acquisition there. And part of Pete Carroll's philosophy has been to pick up people who can help others reach their potential. Well, the ball has blown off the tee twice now. We've had quite a storm that has swirled in a couple of times, so it'll be Ryan Yarborough, number 87, who will hold the ball for Lowry at the 30. And back deep is Tyree Davis, who had a good game last week against Miami.
Didn't put enough prongs on that 1-inch tee that's new to the National Football League this year. Nasty night. I mean, this is nasty out here. We have some brave football fans in the stands this evening.
You should have been here the night of the hurricane. Redskins were in town. They called the game. Red Cashin was the referee. They called it after 3. On a quagmire of a field, it's a short, wobbly kick, and it's Roderick Green exploding across the 30-yard line in the grasp of Marcus Turner, number 23. A 27-yard kickoff return for Green. Erickson, he will start the season.
And Craig Erickson is the guy. He has won the battle, although you get the feeling the war is not over yet between Trent Dilfer and Craig Erickson. Certainly Craig is the guy that knows more about this offense. He deserves the start based on the numbers that he had a year ago. But when you talk to Sam Wyche, when you talk to Turk Schonert, when you talk to the people on the offensive side of the ball, to a man, they tell you that Trent Dilfer is something special.
Well, it didn't take very long. We had a late flag on Jimmy Williams. So the first penalty assessed against the Bucs before the first snap from scrimmage. We only had 202 yards in penalties last week and 4 fights against the Dolphins. Erickson works with McDowell and Workman. Charles Wilson, 84, and Lamar Thomas, 87, are the wideouts. Motion by Wilson. Wilson, one man to beat around the corner. Wilson up near the 27-yard line, bumped out by Brian Washington.
Well, Sam told me before the game they were going to run a reverse on the first play, but with Sam, you can never tell if he's yanking your chain or not, so I stayed away from any great prediction after they burned me in the first game. I came back, said they were going to run that pass to the tight end. Sam loves to set this pace early, though. He likes to come out with something early in the ball game just to establish that you can't just pursue all out. You've got to cover the backside as well.
2nd and 6 in a driving, pelting rainstorm from the 26. Vince Workman is the only running back. Who will be the only running back starting against the Bears? Will it be Workman? Will it be Royster? Will it be Rhett? Blocking on the right side. Workman keeps spinning up to the 32. Blocking by Tony Mayberry and by Sean Love. Love gets the starting nod. Ian Beckles is out as you check the offense. Mo Lewis on the hip.
Of course, we mentioned the fact that Tim Irwin now back with his family after his father passed away earlier in the week. Had an interesting conversation with Sam about the running back situation. I said, explain to me what's going to happen with the running backs on this team as they go off here for a measurement. And you look at the rest of the offense.
And Sam said?
Sam said that if I had to base a decision on what I've seen in the preseason, that Mazio Royster would be my starter, that he has gotten more done this year in camp and in the preseason games. They did pick up the first down than any of the other backs. Vince Workman is the starter here in this ball game, and obviously Eric Rhett is going to get the lion's share of the work tonight. So Sam said it doesn't really matter who starts on this team. I'm confident in the play of all three of these guys, and I feel good about my running back position.
Royster is the leading rusher, averaging about 4 yards per carry, 23 carries, 93 attempts coming into this game. Followed by Rhett, who of course missed the first game, and then Vince Workman, who's carried 16 times for 45 yards. McDowell and Workman are evened up. 1st and 10 after the measurement. They flare it to McDowell. McDowell bumped out of bounds up near the 35-yard line. In the grass looked Kyle Clifton, the 11-year middle linebacker out of TCU.
Boy, I like the mobility shown there by center Tony Mayberry. Watch him come out here in front of the screen. Going to get out in front of the back. Good kick out block. Nice pickup on the screen.
Eric Curry will not see action tonight, out with a knee. Lawrence Dawsey, of course, ligament on the left knee. Courtney Hawkins with that broken bone in the left hand. Other injuries we'll pick up in just a second. 2nd and 7 from just shy of the 35. McDowell and Workman. Erickson, airborne, middle's open, puts it up on a fly, looks downfield. It's picked off. Is there a flag? Then it was dropped at the 32. James Hasty was there on the coverage. Chris is an old All-Pro. What do you think of that? Come on.
James Hasty, that was, this is his first game back. I always like to see the replay. Oh, boy, I tell you. If anything, it looked like maybe offensive pass interference against Lamar Thomas. I thought Hasty was going for the ball.
3rd and 7, and the Buck fans are not happy as you look at the 4-3 defense of the Jets. Copeland, 88. Thomas, 87 are the wideouts. Willie Green, 82 in the slot left. Erickson with the audible. Better hurry. Just got it off. Caught at the 41. Slithering for a first down is Willie Green. Willie came in 7 catches, averaging 14.5 yards a catch.
I think maybe a little short circuit in Craig Erickson's earpiece. You remember they have the sideline communication now, the walkie-talkie device. I'm so surprised that the Lions cut Willie Green. He's been sharp this entire exhibition season, and that was a move that surprised me when it happened.
You know what it was? The radio was picking up Deckerhoff. From the 43, 1st and 10, 12-13 to go. Bucs first possession. Armstrong and Moore go with a double tight. Jets jump. Erickson gives it to McDowell, and a penalty to be checked out. The referee, by the way, is the veteran Johnny Greer. Donald Evans was the man for the Jets that jumped offside.
And Donald Evans, the free agent that came over from Pittsburgh. He played defensive end for the Steelers. He made the call. and now trying to make the transition, moving back inside to play defensive tackle.
Offside. Defense. Go first down.
Evans, 66. Watch the head bob by Craig. He's got that pretty good.
I tell you, Craig Erickson is really using the cadence to his advantage. We saw it last week in Miami, used it 2 or 3 times for first downs, and now early in this ball game as well.
You can hear the thunder rumbling off in the distance. Lightning is crackling all around. It's 1st and 5 from the 48. Armstrong and Bishop, 86 and 89 respectively. Green is in. Wilson's in. Lone running back is McDowell. Hammers his way up close to the 50-yard line for a pickup of 2. It'll be 2nd down and 3 after the penalty. Jeff Lageman on the stop, 6-year right end out of Virginia.
Nice job here by Donald Evans. Jeff Lageman coming around the corner. And Lageman really, he had such a great year a couple of years ago, had injury problems, then came back last year, another solid year, 8.5 sacks. Really a mobile defensive end.
2nd and 3, just shy of midfield. Copeland and Thomas, 87 and 88, are the wideouts. Backs are evened up. McDowell and Workman. McDowell cuts it across midfield down to the 49, so that gained 1.5 yards. And Kyle Clifton again on the stop. That's his 3rd solo tackle. Talked about some of the other Bucs you will not see tonight. Ian Beckles out with a bruised leg from the Dolphin game. Tim Irwin, of course. Chris is already with the passing of his father. Curtis Buckley with a bad ankle. He was supposed to play. We will not see him. And Jackie Harris out with a bad shoulder.
31, defense. Unnecessary roughness. First down.
That is Aaron Glenn. Jets are very high on him.
For the most part, except for the fact that Aaron Glenn is supposed to be their punt return artist as well. In one game, he fumbled 3 punts. Now, that's tough to do. You got to downright work at fumbling 3 punts in the same game. The Jets have been just awful in preseason. They've had 5 catchable punts so far this preseason and have caught 1. That one for -2 yards. So they're still struggling trying to figure out who their punt return guy is.
Had those 3 fumbles against the Lions. 1st and 10 after the penalty, and it's Workman barreling inside and approaching the 30-yard line. How about time of possession? The Bucs have had the ball since the kickoff. They've worn 5 minutes off the clock.
And that is vintage Sam Wyche offense. When things are going right for Sam Wyche and his offense, whether it's in San Francisco when he was there, in Cincinnati with Boomer Esiason and company, or here in Tampa Bay, they maintain control of the football. Like to keep that defense over there sitting on the bench, resting comfortably.
2nd and a long 9. Copeland and Thomas deployed wide to the left. Workman the only running back. Erickson behind Mayberry. Workman gets bounced backwards. Didn't get back to the line of scrimmage, and another penalty flag. A little bit going on in the secondary with James Hasty. 7th year out of Washington State. Here's Johnny Greer again.
Uh-oh. Other way this time.
Well, Hasty got into it in the secondary, but I'm not sure. Johnny Greer will have to tell us who he got into it with. Now we're having a bit of a conclave. I think it was Lamar Thomas.
And the clubhouse lawyer, Ronnie Lott, right in the middle of it. Probably knows more about the rules than the referees do. Unbelievable the career Ronnie Lott has had. And you're talking about a guy that I know LT Lawrence Taylor's gotten a lot of attention in his career, but I'm not so sure that number 42 hasn't been the best defensive football player in the past 10, 15 years.
You heard any talk around the league about Ronnie Lott running for president of the NFL Players Association?
Personal foul.
Is that right?
Back.
Yep.
On the offense. Still 2nd down.
Ronnie Lott is 35 years of age. He is the NFL's oldest defensive back. He, of course, wears 4 rings from the 49ers, who unceremoniously dumped him on Plan B. He signed on with the Jets for $1.2 million. That's salary and bonus, about $200,000 less than he was making, and he's going to play next year. He's already said, admittedly, for less than $500,000, but he wants to play into the mid-90s.
The other thing he did was willingly take a pay cut this year so that his team could get under the salary cap.
2nd and 25 after the penalty call, over the middle, caught at the 30-yard line. Erickson fired it on a rope, and he's got Willie Green. Green's second catch of the game, a pickup of 19.
Let me tell you something. That is the best sign I've seen for the Buccaneers offense in a long time. This is the old Dover route, the deep in route that generally coaches don't feel that comfortable calling because it takes so long to set up. Here they are throwing the patterns now 15, 20 yards down the field. That means Sam now believes his offensive line can get the job done, and they did on that play.
Blocking up front, Armstrong and McCray did a yeoman job that time. So they got the penalty back. It's 3rd and 6 from the 30. McDowell, and Erickson has to take a timeout. First of the game, the Bucs have used almost 7 full minutes. 8:12 to go, scoreless at Tampa Stadium, the Bucs and the Jets. In a thunderstorm. Welcome back. The Bucs have used 6:48 on the clock so far, and coming up the 10th play of the drive. Erickson 4 out of 5, 30 yards, and Green 2 catches for 26 yards.
Unfortunately, they probably need another 6 yards in order to get any points out of this drive.
Workman stays in along with Anthony McDowell. 3rd and 6. Workman for the first down. Didn't get a chance last year until Reggie Cobb went down with that sprained knee on Halloween, but since then he's made the most of the opportunity, and Anthony McDowell threw the block that sprung him.
Interesting play call here by Sam Wyche. You try to guess along up here in the booth, and draw was not one of my guesses, to be honest.
And the hurry up. Copeland, Green, McDowell is the only running back. Erickson looks to the left, fires up high, caught by Green inside the 10. What a performance by Willie Green, a pickup of 12.
And we reiterate, the wide receiver position is still wide open going into this final exhibition game, and you get the feeling that maybe Willie Green would like to have one of those jobs. I suppose you're looking at Horace Copeland and Lamar Thomas with Courtney Hawkins out of there, but in talking to some of the coaches, they feel very comfortable with both Willie Green and Charles Wilson in the game.
Green 4 catches, 38 yards. The veteran out of Ole Miss. He was a find when they picked him up from the Lions. Penalty flags are down. Erickson fires inside the 5. McDowell looping out of the backfield, but again the clock will stop because of the penalty. Copeland might be the culprit. A little bit more about Willie Green. I know it's hard for a former Gator to talk about a guy from Ole Miss, but he was the Rebels' all-time, second leading all-time receiver, averaging just 17 yards per catch, one shy of being their all-time receiver. Great job that he did, Willie Green, in 4 years there for Ole Miss.
Offense. Still first down.
Did you hear anything about the preseason rankings for college football? I haven't heard anything about it. Do you know anything about that?
I haven't seen anything in the paper about it either. No, haven't.
Steve Spurrier and the boys. How about that one?
Haven't seen a thing. 1st and 13 after the penalty from the 13. Jets with a blitz. Erickson picks it up, dumps it out. McDowell around the linebacker, bumped out of bounds. McDowell got the last 6 all on his own, and finally Kyle Clifton came over and bumped him out.
I tell you, if the Buccaneers can find a way to get this thing in the end zone, as you watch Anthony McDowell tap himself on the helmet, meaning I want out of here. I'm a little gashed right now. But if the Bucs can find a way to get this one into the end zone, it will be a very impressive drive. They've had penalties along the way, mistakes, negative yardage, but they've always been able to come back, and these final 10 yards always the toughest, though.
McDowell with the mud gets a rest. Erickson now is 6 out of 7, 46 yards. Bucs going up against one of the smallest defensive fronts in the National Football League. Pete Carroll's got some where's the beat problems there. Motion by Charles Wilson. Reverse pivot. All kinds of time over the middle. Too high. It was there. Thomas on the crossing pattern.
Well, I was fooled. I was watching Vince Workman over here. I thought he had been tackled for about a 5-yard loss. Craig Erickson learning some of the magician skills from Sam Wyche, and Turk Schoenert had a chance here. Just sometimes those wet balls get away from you. Ronnie Lott not often fooled in the secondary, though.
We touched on the Jets with a quarterback controversy. We won't get to see it. Bucs have had the ball 9 minutes. 3rd and goal from the 9. Erickson sends Lamar Thomas wide to the right side. Workman, the lone running back, motioned across by Wilson. It's Workman blocking on the left side inside the 5. It'll bring up 4th and goal. Brian Washington saved the touchdown. Good block there by Gruber and by Scott Dill.
Well, the last mistake finally did the Buccaneers in, losing that 5 yards down there. 1st and 15, always a tough spot. You look at the big guy, Paul Gruber. Really had a very un-Gruber-like year a year ago. Came back after that long holdout and never really lived up to his standards from the previous few years.
Husted is 2 out of 2 between the 20 and the 29. 5 out of 6 overall. A 24-yard field goal out of the hold of Dan Straczynski. Pretty good drive by the Bucs. They took it down to the 5. 5:05 left to go, and what else is new? Another flag. Only 202 yards in penalties last week against the Dolphins down at Joe Robbie. Of course, about 200 of those were Brian Cox, weren't they?
I think the Dolphins were a little surprised at the emotional level that the Buccaneers brought on.
There is no infraction on the play. Number 70 was uncovered, but he had reported as an eligible receiver. The field goal is good.
Johnny Greer. Well, it's one thing to be uncovered. It's another to be uncovered and report. He reported. No penalty. 3-0. Bucs. Plays, and they used up almost 10 minutes. 9:55 to be exact, and they lead the Jets 3-0. Husted from the 30. Aaron Glenn, 31, is back deep. And he'll field it cleanly at the 7. Upended at the 25. Tony Covington. A 19-yard kickoff return. Good clean hit by Covington. So we will get our look at Norman Esiason, nicknamed Boomer. He kicked so much in the womb. He's up at kicking still. He's been around a while. The pro from Maryland. On 44, they are not many, but they are boisterous, and they're having a good time.
Brave souls in this crowd tonight.
Boomer and what he has done. The stats last year, so far in the preseason for Esiason, 19 of 38. The problem is 2 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. That's the problem if you play at Giant Stadium and if you can read the New York papers. Penalty flag is down, and so too is Johnny Mitchell. Mitchell in his 3rd year out of Nebraska in the grasp of Lonnie Martz. Flag against the Jets.
Must have been one heck of a defensive move by somebody on that quick drop to get a holding penalty.
And you look at the veterans that the Jets have, like Art Monk, veteran out of Syracuse, Ronnie Lott. We talked about Nick Lowry. What do you think of Pete Carroll's philosophy now, bringing in some of these older guys to help work with the youngsters?
Still 1st down.
To be honest, I have my questions about Art Monk. I think that he was one of the great receivers, obviously, of all time. Whether or not now, past the age of 35, if he can put together another season, we'll have to see.
Brad Baxter and Johnny Johnson are the running backs. 1st and 20. Bucs go the blitz. Penalty flags are down, and so too is Johnny Johnson. Barney Bussey on the hit. Again, you will not see Eric Curry tonight, out with that bad knee. You won't see Buckley on the specialty teams. You'll see a lot of Johnny Greer offside against Tampa Bay.
Referees this year really protecting the neutral zone. We talked about some of the rule changes last week.
97 defense. Still 1st down.
Since the Bucs, Chris, have switched over to that 4-2-5 as you check the defense there, the Bucco defense, they are averaging about 80 yards less allowed per quarter. It's been pretty effective.
And there's no question that last week against the Miami Dolphins, Dan Marino and company, perhaps the most impressive outing I've ever seen from the Buccaneers defense, at least since we've been doing the preseason game.
Carpenter and Monk slotted out wide to the left. Baxter and Johnson are the running backs. Monk in motion. Boomer to put it up on 1st and 15. Look at the hit at the 22-yard line. Barney Bussey again. We talked about that 4-2-5 Bucco back, and watch Bussey, 27.
Barney is the Bucco back. He's the extra nickel backer out there, if you will, but if you look at Barney Bussey, he looks more like a linebacker than a defensive back and dances a little like Michael Jackson or Hammer, one of those guys. He loves to hit. That's the part of football he loves. Doesn't like the coverage, all that other stuff. Loves to pop people.
2nd and 13. Doing a lot of east-west and not doing a lot of north-south. Looking for Anderson, and Lonnie March was there. Speaking of Hammer, he and, of course, his soulmate, if you will, Dion Primetime, they went to Kansas City, did a little fishing, talked to Carl Peterson and Schottenheimer and the Chiefs, but they will conclude their world tour this week, we're told, eh?
I hope he's taking a little batting practice in the cage for my beloved Reds in case he ever comes back. I don't know where he's going to end up. To be honest, if I had to guess, I would think the Miami Dolphins would be my first guess. Coming back to the state of Florida, of course, a great career at Florida State. That's my thought.
I think you're not going out on a limb. He can play football there. He can play baseball there, and he'll have about 30 blockbuster scores. 3rd and 13. Esiason. Could have been intercepted. Batted down at the 36-yard line. Excellent coverage by Mayhew. The crowd has really gotten into it.
That is simply as good as it gets from Martin Mayhew. Rob Carpenter down with the comeback pattern just beyond the stakes, trying to pick up the first down. And Martin Mayhew has just been all over the field throughout this preseason. He is back to his much more comfortable left cornerback position, and he has made every play I've seen so far this preseason.
Ryan Hansen in his 10th year. Tyree Davis is back deep. This one doesn't turn over. Davis at the 42. Davis at midfield. Davis inside Jet territory near the 47. 3:05 to go. Bucs in command in the first quarter here in Tampa Bay. Erickson is 6 out of 8, 46 yards. One of the problems, one of the things the coaches will look at, the depth on the offensive and defensive line. I mean, that's something that Sam's concerned about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They've got to come up with some answers. The one nice thing that's happened since the first game that we've talked about, they've really been happy with the play of Tim Irwin. Of course, not here tonight, but they thought he really stepped it up. Some concerns early, but now he's back to form.
Rudy Harris is the lone running back as Erickson bends in behind Tony Mayberry. Tripped up, maybe back to the original line of scrimmage. It was Coleman Rudolph in his second year out of Georgia Tech who submarined him down low. One of the things Sam says about Rudy, though, good things happen with Rudy Harris. A lot of things don't go noticed.
Yeah, and that was the other thing that I left out of the running back situation when we talked about it earlier. He sort of paused after talking about the tailbacks. He said, you know, but the one guy that has really made an impression this year, Rudy Harris. And he gives them that big fullback type. On a night like this, you would think he'd get plenty of work.
2nd and 10. Copeland and Willie Green, who's had a huge night, are the running backs. Erickson looks incomplete, a little bit behind Copeland. Copeland had that 7-yard touchdown toss last week. Said he really enjoyed going back and playing before family and friends. And Erickson, it was the first touchdown pass he's had at Joe Robbie. He said, I've seen a lot of great games there, but I was pretty excited about that.
IC looked like he just got out of a swimming pool after that dive, too. A little low and away.
2:23 to go in the first. Royster is in along with Harris.
Erickson pointing to Ronnie Lott.
A late developing play, and Erickson gets sacked back at the 50 by Mo Lewis in his 4th year out of Georgia. So we will see Dan Straczynski, the punter.
Well, Lewis led the Jets in tackles for the last 2 seasons and really got a lot of publicity a year ago. May not be the best of those linebackers, but a guy that adds a speed dimension, and they call on him to blitz quite a bit. We're getting some nasty lightning flashing all about this stadium tonight, too.
Straczynski averaging 41 yards per punt, 1 touchback, 4 inside the 20. Aaron Glenn with a fair catch at the 15. Boomer Esiason and the Jets take over there. They're on the short end of a 3-0 score with 1:46 to go in the first.
Well, at least the Jets caught that punt. That's progress in the making.
Yeah, what'd you say? Aaron Glenn, he had 3 fumbles against the Detroit Lions.
He had 3, then Rob Carpenter had 1, and they had only fielded 1 punt. Pete Carroll was obviously concerned about that. He's not concerned about his quarterback, though. And talking to him before the game, he said, Boomer is my quarterback. He'll be my quarterback on opening day, but I have been impressed by Jack Trudeau.
Boomer says, I hope and pray that I play all 16 games at the top of my game, that I can stay healthy in there. But Trudeau pushing him a little bit, especially in the interception department. Pressure. Boomer dumps it out. You can see the quagmire there at the 25. Rob Carpenter slipped. Pressure by Santana Dotson, 71.
There have been a lot of underneath type passes thrown in this ball game. The only ones that we've really seen thrown down the field have not been very effective at all. That ball, especially early in the game, so slippery. And a lot of fans say, well, the rain has sort of let up and it's not raining like it was at the beginning, but still that football just gets greasy as they try to get it in play.
2nd and 10 from the 15. Carpenter and Art Monk are the wideouts. Carpenter in motion. Big hole on the right side behind Dwayne White and Jim Sweeney, the 11-year veteran out of Pitt. Johnny Johnson, 5th year out of San Jose State, got the nod.
Good tackle that time by Marty Carter coming out of the secondary. The Jets obviously trying to get something going, and boy, that was a big hole for Marty Carter to have to fill. A lot of room on either side. Johnny Johnson unable to get away from Marty Carter.
Johnson averaging about 5 yards per carry from scrimmage. Baxter is in. 3rd and 5 from the 20. 3 wideouts. Carpenter, Monk, Yarborough. First down for the Jets. They go to the tight end, Johnny Mitchell, in his 3rd year out of Nebraska. A first-round pick 2 years ago in the grasp of Lonnie Martz.
The Jets a year ago had a real opportunity to make it on into the playoffs. Failed miserably offensively at the end of the season, and a big reason for that, both Johnny Mitchell and Rob Moore got hurt at the end, and Boomer literally had nobody to throw the football to. He ended up dumping it off to Johnny Johnson, the tailback, for most of the second half of the season, and they missed the playoffs.
The tight end, Johnny Mitchell, idolized Kellen Winslow, and Kellen, of course, had one of his best games on a field like this when the Chargers played the Dolphins. Blocking on that right side by White again. Johnny Johnson got the call, and Marty Carter came up and made the hit.
Johnson was the Jets MVP a year ago. One of only 2 players to lead their team in both rushing and receiving last season, he along with Herschel Walker.
23-yard field goal by the Bucs' Michael Husted, the only scoring after 1. Boomer never saw it. Looking for Johnny Johnson, number 39, in his 5th year out of San Jose State, and Boomer was on his backside. Wheeler got through.
Hardy Nickerson comes around on the blitz, and boom, boom, of course, setting up as the left-hander. God, welcome to Mr. Chickenpox. I talked to Hardy a little bit before the ball game. I said, how you feeling? Of course, going through, had all those problems. He said, a little weak, but looking forward to smacking somebody around here tonight.
Yeah, the great chickenpox scare of '94 appears to have passed for the Bucs. Armstrong, Green, Miltmack, and Hardy Nickerson. On 3rd and 8. Incomplete at the 35-yard line. Carpenter covered by Mayhew. Martin Mayhew's had a big game. By the way, talking of Milton Mack, we will not be calling his number anymore, will we?
No, he's, as they say, gone the way of the dinosaur here. But
Bucs did make a late sign tonight. Carl Wilson, number 91, $275. Free agent signed on from the 49ers in his 7th year out of LSU, has been added to the roster and is expected to see about 6 or 8 plays. Tyree Davis is back deep. Henson, 6'4", from Sioux Falls. Good kick, especially in this weather. Davis dances to the 33. Kyle Clifton on the hit, a 39-yard punt and a 3-yard return. Bucs ball, 14:35 left in the first half. Nicknamed Moose is the #1 draft pick. Erickson's numbers are right through what he has done tonight. He is expected back in the second quarter. And Sam was talking before the game saying, I'm very pleased. We're 3 deep at the quarterback spot. Erickson is solid. Casey Weldon is resourceful. And Trent Dilfer clearly comfortable and improving.
No question about it. It's been an impressive preseason for those 3 quarterbacks.
Armstrong, Moore, and Bishop, 86, 83, and 89 as the Bucs open up with 3 tight ends. The lone running back, Royster. Royster dives across the 37 for a pickup of 2, 2nd and 8.
Like a tight end trap. Interesting way to run the trap play. They had Ty J. Armstrong from his flex tight end position coming back down and blocking on the inside. You'll see him coming from the right side of your screen, tracking back there and getting position, setting up a short game.
Royster and Harris. First down, Armstrong. Nope, shy of first down yardage. Got banged backwards by Mo Lewis. A career-high 158 tackles last year for the New York Jets. And Dilfer limping and limping off.
With a murmur from the crowd. Like he got hit right on the knee.
The #1 draft pick, $16.5 million. Watch the lower right-hand side, right on the knee.
Yep. If you're looking for good news out of that, when he gave the indication, he showed on top of his knee, so probably a bit of a hyperextension as opposed to a shot from the side of the knee where you can get into some ligament problems.
3rd and 2. Erickson can run for it, pulls it down, fires. He's got number 83, Dave Moore. First down and more. Aaron Glenn tripped him up. You like that play?
Well, you know, the young millionaire goes out of the game with a little boo-boo on his knee, and the vet comes back in and says, well, if you don't want to do it, I'll go ahead and take this 30-yard completion. Happy to. Nice catch by Dave Moore.
Eric Rett seeing his first action tonight. Number 32 checks in. Dilfer is out. Erickson stays in. They're working on Trent Dilfer down on the sideline, working on that knee. 1st and 10 from the 34. Rett gets the call. That's as good an illustration right there on that first play of one of the things the coaches love about Eric Rett. He never gets back. He always falls forward. And he said, it's almost a challenge, nobody will ever drive me backwards.
Yeah, he is a power back with moves. Not that was a pretty good collision right there on that play. But they had Eric Rett is a guy that, along the same lines of Emmitt Smith, you don't expect him to ever lose yardage. He believes in brute strength over the shiftiness of moves.
Rett was 210, and he banged Coleman Rudolph, who's 270, backwards. From the 33, it's 2nd and 9. Copeland and Thomas are the wideouts. Rett cuts inside behind Charles McRae and Paul Gruber and Scott Dill. Mark Gunn on the hit in his 4th year out of Pittsburgh.
Nice job by McRae and Gruber over here on this left side. But watch how low Eric Rett is here. That's what makes the yardage. He got underneath the pads of the defenders, took a couple extra steps. Instead of a 3-yard gain, it's a 6-yard gain. Now they have 3rd and short.
Only running back in NCAA history to gain over 4,100 yards. 3rd and a short 1. Motion by Armstrong, throws a block. There goes your number 2 draft choice inside the 10. 1st and goal for the Bucs. Chico Nelson, the rookie, he made the stop.
The play was intended to go inside. Mo Lewis stepped up in there, so Eric Rett simply bounced it outside. Nice job downfield blocking by Lamar Thomas. Jim, I don't think they're going to be able to keep him out of the lineup long. He's some back, and he's beginning to prove it.
First and goal inside the 9. Motion. Armstrong the other way. Rhett. See that move? Didn't look like a rookie at all, did he? Mo Lewis on the hit.
And Ty.J. Armstrong doesn't want to see any of the Jets lying on top of his new man. Ty.J. gets the block on the corner, and this is what you like out of a young back. A lot of backs would have tried to outrun that man around the end. Instead, Eric Rhett just simply turned it up the field, picked up a couple of 3 yards, but down around the goal line, every yard's important.
Latest in a line of great Florida running backs. Emmitt Smith, Neil Anderson, and Eric Rhett. 4 carries, 28 yards. Rudy Harris in. Backs are evened up. Second and goal from the 6. Needs some receivers. The other way, looking for the tight. No, that was Horace Copeland. They only had one receiver out in that pattern for a long time. Nobody to help him out. Eric Rhett, good job of blocking for protection for Erickson, but the only guy out there was Copeland.
Yeah, that is a little bit of an unusual route. You don't know if one of the guys may have got tied up, but look at number 32, Eric Rhett, throw the block on the end. That's Coleman Rudolph, and that gave Craig Erickson plenty of time to take a look. Unfortunately, nobody open.
Thomas left, Harold Bishop, Copeland to the right.
Going the double barrel blitz.
Penalty flags are down. Rudy Harris tried to get it in. Let's check the flag with Johnny Greer. Bobby Houston and Aaron Glenn were there in the coverage. It is offside, Jets.
Mo Lewis simply leaned into the play a little too soon at the bottom of the screen. And they simply are not going to allow that type of movement this year.
Offside. 97, defense. Still third down.
Marvin Washington, 6'6", 272, hard to miss when he jumps offside. Rookie head coach Pete Carroll. How do you think he'll do?
I thought it was a mistake, the firing of Bruce Cosler, but Pete Carroll's a good coach. He'll do fine. I look at this as an important moment in the ball game now for the Buccaneers. They got stopped when inside the 10-yard line on their first drive. They catch a break here on third down, get to redo the down. Now they need a touchdown. They need a little momentum, a little excitement going into that first game of the season against the Bears.
McDowell and Harris are the running backs. Bishop, Moore, Armstrong. Bucs go with their jumbo offensive set. Flood to the right. Erickson wants to come back the other way. Incomplete, looks for Harris, and it might have been tipped. Houston put some pressure on him.
I thought Craig Erickson made a mistake on this play. He had a chance to run that ball into the corner of the end zone. You see the ball tipped, and really nobody open back inside. His receivers had all taken the option of moving back to the inside. No pressure on the outside. I thought Craig could have run that one in for 6.
So 4th and goal from the 3, and it looks like the fans have won.
Why not?
It looks like Sam will go for it. What did one of the newspaper clips call him this week? Wicky Wacky? You see that?
That's an old one.
He'll keep you off balance. Now Jets want a timeout.
Timeout. New York.
9:10 to go. It's been all Tampa Bay here in the first half. Erickson 7 out of 12 for 70 yards. Rhett and Rudy Harris are the running backs on 4th and goal from the 3. Thomas left, Copeland right. Stacked up in the middle, Bill Pickel clogging things up in his 12th year out of Rutgers.
Well, the draw worked earlier in the game for a big first down. Maybe Sam thought he had a little something. Good work that drive, though, by Eric Rhett.
That was a draw that didn't. That was a slow developing draw.
Well, the passing game had a couple of shots, and why not give it to the big back, see what he can do. You know, the good thing about this decision, though, is at worst, Was it Rudy Harris sort of ran by the first guy in order to get to the second, and unfortunately the first guy caused the creation. But at least now you leave the Jets backed up. We get our first look at Jack Trudeau.
In his 9th year out of Illinois, 6'3", 227. Not much doing on the right side behind Dwayne White and Jim Sweeney. Sweeney again in his 11th year out of Pitt. Johnny Johnson got the call again. Trudeau, the numbers on him in the preseason. And this is why the New York fans are screaming for a change. 20 of 26, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions.
I don't know if they're exactly screaming for a change. You may know better than I, but at least they're murmuring at this point. And I would imagine if Boomer doesn't get off to a quick start, because really Boomer's numbers at the end of last year, not very impressive. They are simply waiting to see on Boomer Esiason, who 2 for 7 tonight for just 14 yards.
Thornton and Baxter are the running backs, and a big hole on the left side behind Jeff Criswell and Roger Duffy. Marty Carter came up from his strong safety spot to make the hit on number 39, Johnny Johnson. Nice hole.
To have a load like that, 6'3", 220 pounds, along the lines of Eric Red. Loves to put his head down and get that extra 2 or 3 yards. Backs in the NFL that can give you that. What a plus. Look at some of the big plays that the Jets have come up with this year. Many of those to Stevie Anderson, who has been labeled the Forrest Gump of this team for some of his remarkable catches and runs.
Please don't say that life is just a box of chocolates. 1st and 10 from the 12. Trudeau stays in, blocking by Duffy and White. Sean Price on the hit. Johnny Johnson getting quite a workout tonight, first half.
It's good to see that first-team defense back in there and getting a chance to work together. Of course, Hardy Nickerson has been out for so much of this preseason. Had the neck burner, also the chicken pox, many problems that he's had. But boy, what a sensational year Hardy Nickerson had a year ago. I mean, just unquestionably, I thought the best linebacker in the game of football for the 1993 season.
Pretty good other linebacker used to play that position, wear number 56, and that's Joe Schmidt, the Detroit Lions. Trudeau, nice touch, dumps it off to the 22, and it is incomplete, stripped by Charles Dimry. Pressure by Hardy Nickerson. Watch 56.
Not only the brute strength of Hardy Nickerson, but look at the speed. Avoids the block like a basketball player going around a pick, and then forces Jack Trudeau to throw it just a step before he wants to. Then good play on the other end by Charles Dimry, the free agent from the Denver Broncos. I would imagine Charles Dimry has earned himself a spot on this roster.
Not only did Nickerson get to him, but then Trudeau gets popped on the shoulder by Jeff Hunter, 97. 3rd and 8. Whistles, flags. Clock is stopped. 6:46 to go before halftime.
I would imagine if you want to talk about the most pleasant surprises.
Ball start, 69, offense, prior to the snap, still 3rd down.
Most pleasant surprises of this preseason, top of the list has to be Jeff Hunter. Jeff Hunter was the guy they desperately needed somebody to come over and fill in for Ray Seals, who of course left via free agency to Pittsburgh. And Jeff Hunter has really done a job. He's healthy, he feels good, and he has constantly been in the backfield for these 4 exhibition games.
5 NFL teams in 6 years for Hunter. An Army brat's existence that took him from Germany to Alaska and all points in between. He wants to find a home here. Trudeau wants it all on 3rd and 13. Penalty flag is down at the 45. Stevie Anderson, you saw in that graphic 2 of the 8 biggest plays in the preseason for the Jets. Trudeau to the flea flicker, Stevie Anderson.
Jim, I saw the thrown article as well. It ended up not being a flag. I don't know what the referee reached in his pocket and threw. Looked like a plastic bag of some kind.
Brian Hansen. There's probably a towel. Here it is. Incidental contact. Tyree Davis at the Jets' 46-yard line, so the Bucs should come out of this in great field position. Lots of time left on the clock, 6:42. So another punt for Hansen. Hangs it high, the fair catch. Davis, good punt. Oh, that's interesting. He signals the fair catch, and then he thought about running. at the 44-yard line of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers following a 47-yard punt. Pick after getting that knee banged around. He's 1 out of 2 passing for 5 yards. Came into the game 10 of 15 passing. He was pretty excited last week playing in front of the Dolphins and Dan Marino. He said, can you believe it? There I was, and Dan Marino was watching me.
Remarkable streak that young man put together. 271 straight passes without an interception. That's sensational.
Rudy Harris is in, number 43. Dilfer goes airborne right away. Fires, caught at the 47-yard line and hung on to by Charles Wilson. Good toss by Dilfer in front of Aaron Glenn.
I'll tell you, the thing that impresses me most about Trent Dilfer is his ability to quickly get rid of the football. When you see the guy, the amount of time that it takes him to make up his mind and then release the football. I mean, that is a release a la Dan Marino, and Dan Marino is the best I've ever seen.
He's got the good gun. Dilfer now. 2 passes for 13 yards. Royster, the lone running back, motioned by Wilson. Royster dancing inside the 48-yard line. 5:45 to go. And we've got penalty flags, and we got fisticuffs. In the middle of things, Dave Moore and Chico Nelson. Also Armstrong came over.
I thought Ty J. Armstrong was in there as well, and he's been in the middle of quite a few. Now they have to sort out who hit who first, kind of like dealing with your kids on these issues. You know, well, he hit me, well, he hit me too, and he kicked me first, and he bit me last time, and so now they have to try and figure it out. And generally they'll say, we'll take one. The Jeopardy music is up.
Official ruling for 40 yards.
Offsetting unsportsmanlike conduct fouls. 55, defense, 86, offense. Second down.
And like a true parent, they said both of you go to your room and learn how to play together.
One of the things Dilfer was saying about his efforts since he has signed on, so much was focused on the holdout.
Correction.
Now,
third down.
Thank you, Johnny. Get your own show. He was saying that he missed the encouragement of his teammates, right? I mean, so much attention was focused on the holdout, but now everybody's kind of banded and like glue around him saying, way to go, Trent, and they're helping him out, and it's been very encouraging. Third and 2. That is a Buccaneers first down, and the rookie has made his second great move. He gives you that leg, takes it away, doesn't he?
Well, I fouled you up here. That's Mazio Royster now coming in and making the nice move and the cut. That's vintage Mazio Royster. Not a big guy, not going to overpower you by any means, but can simply make that one little cut. And it's not a major cut. It's not a Gale Sayers kind of a cut, but he just sort of slides in and out of the holes. Does have a nice run.
Underrated as a blocker as well. On 1st and 10, look out. Dilfer, good feet, dumps it off complete at the 40-yard line. Turned a 7-yard loss into a 3-yard gain. Rudy Harris with the hands.
And Trent Dilfer will take a little heat in the films tomorrow for having a bit of the happy feet here. He was perfectly safe in the pocket. There was a little push, but look at the time. The safest place to be is stepping up in the pocket. Mentally, just so hard to do that. That time the offensive line did their job beautifully. The young quarterback, a little antsy.
Harris and Royster out of the I pro set. Wilson and Green are the slot left. Royster inside the 20, 1st and 10, Tampa Bay. Pat Terrell hanging on, a 20-yard carry for Royster.
I've said it before, but I'm telling you, this guy reminds me of Marcus Allen, and certainly he's never going to have the numbers that Marcus Allen had. But I remember back at Super Bowl and right here in this stadium a few years ago, Marcus Allen against the Redskins started one way, circled the other for about a 60-yard touchdown. Just has that style.
Royster with a catch, and he dances down inside the 12. Aaron Glenn on the stop. Willie Green, the running back coach, says of Royster, the 11th round pick, he had to wait his turn. We just had to hold on to him until we could work him in. And the question was, could we hold on to him long enough? Well, they've worked him in.
And now he is one of the 3 backs. And that's what Sam Wyche really wanted to emphasize, that we have 3 backs, 3 starting tailbacks going into the game against the Bears.
His brother is a 6'3", 280-pound defensive end at the University of Pittsburgh, the 3rd in a set of triplets. The audible by Dilfer on 2nd and 4 from the 14. Royster again in the grasp of Mo Lewis. We asked you last week, he was named after Mazio Parker, a horn player in James Brown's band.
Left side, Paul Gruber working there, along with Scott Dill. This time not quite as effective.
The second unit offensive line played better last week when you and I were at Joe Robbie, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely they did. And at least thus far, the offensive lines look pretty sharp here tonight as well. Good long drive.
Dilfer is now 5 of 5. Royster tripped up.
Boy, there's a mistake.
Because?
Well, Royster tried to cut back when all he had to do was lean into the tackler, and he had the easy first down. He tried to score the touchdown, but you have to know the situation. That time 3rd and very short.
So we'll talk things over, take a timeout at the 2-minute warning. The difference, a 23-yard field goal, 28-yard field goal by Michael Husted. Numbered on 44 for the final preseason game. Dilfer 5 out of 5, 24 yards. 9th play of the drive started at the 41-yard line. Individual game tickets on sale. The home opener Sunday the 11th against the Colts, and you were a little surprised they're undefeated, right?
4-0 in preseason, so that was a game that maybe not many people thought they would have much interest in. All of a sudden now with Marshall Faulk, that's a team that can put some points on the board.
Say, you'll see Warren Moon with the Vikings. You'll see Steve Young, Jerry Rice. Tickets at the Bucs Stadium office or call Ticketmaster.
And perhaps more importantly, you can see the Buccaneers this year. After the way they played in this preseason, they're a definite threat to win a few games.
And don't forget the Sam Wyche report Saturday nights at 10:30 on your 44. 1st and 10, 1st and goal. Royster just got the first down. Wilson. They fake the reverse. It's Royster, and he gets back barely to the line of scrimmage. They ran that on the very first play to start the ball game, but Marvin Jones stayed in his lane.
Well, that's one of those plays that you think that maybe they're expecting the reverse, so you run the fake reverse, but if they had truly run the reverse, Charles Wilson would have walked in the end zone. There was nobody on the other side of the field, and Trent Dilfer out in front, that would have been an easy 6. Marvin Jones had so many problems with that hip flexor out of Florida State, or the hip socket itself, and injured it again this year. Going to be a great player if he can ever get healthy.
Royster, lone running back, 2nd and goal, actually lost about a half a yard. McDowell in motion. Dilfer, help him out, boys, puts up a free-for-all. Well, I believe Hasty will get called for the face guard, but a pretty good job by Willie Green. Now the official picks it up. Willie Green should win the debate class award. What do you think?
They're going to say that that ball was uncatchable. That's a pretty strong call by Johnny Greer and company.
There is no infraction on the play. The ball was uncatchable.
Well, sure it's uncatchable if you got a guy waving his arms in front of your
well,
face.
And more important than that, he had his hands on him, so he really didn't have the opportunity to jump for the football. That is simply a bad call. That is simply a bad, bad call by this officiating crew. That ball was easily catchable by Willie Green. Totally a blown call.
From the 11th, Dilfer. Let's see, what was that play again? McDowell and Royster. Look out! Good pressure by the Jets that time. Mo Lewis came in unimpeded, 57. Went right around Sean Young.
Went right through Sean Young. Mo Lewis just simply...
Watch him blow 79 away. Goodbye.
Too much. Wow. Oh, I take that back. That looked like Mazio Royster, who was supposed to pick up Mo Lewis on the play. And that's a mismatch when you get a smallish running back in there. Apologies to Sean Love.
from the 19. Straczynski will put it down, hash mark near side, a 29-yarder. Husted already with one from 23. Penalty flag is down again. Well, we said it last week in Miami. If this were a regular season game, forget an all-new edition of 60 Minutes. You'd be on the air right into Angela Lansbury.
They're going to get a chance to try that one again.
It's against the Bucs. Well, it won't be Angela Lansbury anymore. It'll be the Simpsons.
I work for NBC. I don't deal with
There's
any
no
of them.
infraction on the play. The field goal is good.
Well, the flag that wasn't. They threw it, but they say there was no infraction. So, a 29-yard field goal by Michael Husted, won by 23 in the first quarter, 6-0 Bucs. 56 seconds to go before halftime. You push the other team around, but you're only one play away from being on the short end.
3 times now the Buccaneers have been inside the 10-yard line and only 2 field goals to go for.
Orlando Parker at the goal line. Pretty good return, and another penalty flag comes down. Jack Trudeau and the Jets will start from the 20, or maybe not. We'll check. Johnny Greer again. Face mask, so the Jets will get backed up. Now let's go back to that third down play, the one where Mo Lewis comes in. Look where Trent Dilfer is. He's behind Sean Love. So wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Yep, that's right. I'm supposed to get behind the center. That's how you get the ball.
That was Sam Wyche. You never know. I mean, that could be another one of his trick plays, but apparently Anthony McDowell, the old veteran, knew well enough that the quarterback goes behind the center. And sometimes you just have to help the rookies through some of these troubling times.
That'll go on the Christmas reel, huh?
Oh, that's embarrassing.
$16.5 million, and he lines up behind the right guard.
Well, you can't do everything right.
Well, he said he's got some learning to do. Worked very hard in practice to try to understand and learn the whole game plan. First rule of thumb is get the snap from the center.
Oh, boy.
Boomer Esiason back in. Expecting both quarterbacks to get about 50-50 between Esiason and Jack Trudeau here tonight. Pete Carroll in his first year as the Jets head coach. 3 previous years he was the Jets defensive coordinator. Boomer is 2 out of 8 now for 14 yards. And not winning friends and influencing people back in Manhattan.
Well, that's the truth.
A little bit of a question about his arm last year. You did a lot of the game. What do you think?
I don't think there was anything wrong with his arm.
Up across the 25-yard line goes Adrian Murrell. Well, I can tell you there's nothing wrong with his golf game. He was at the Cadillac NFL Golf Classic.
New York.
Thank you.
Number 2.
He can play. But the reason I say I don't think there's anything wrong with Boomer's arm, so many people base Boomer Esiason's career on what happened to him in 1988, the year that he took the Bengals to the Super Bowl. And that year, there were probably 10 passes hit to Eddie Brown of 50 or 60 yards or more, and it was because of the fact that Ickey Woods and James Brooks were so effective running the football that free safeties kept coming out of the middle to try and help against the run, and Boomer simply threw it over their head. And now when teams are playing more and more zone defenses against Boomer Esiason and the Jets, knowing that he likes to throw the ball deep, those long passes simply aren't there. And so people question his arm. I don't think it has anything to do with it. I just think it was the effectiveness of the Bengals running game in '88 that allowed him so many big plays.
8th among active quarterbacks, the all-time leading left-hander in NFL history. 24 games of 300 yards or more, 3 400-yard games. There's another guy in the booth tonight that has stats that rival that, Joe Willie.
Wasn't bad, was it?
First look tonight at Carl Wilson, 91. Just signed on, and good pressure. Wilson was getting double teamed. Esiason incomplete at the 32 for a gliding Stevie Anderson. I'll tell you what, I don't know if we got it, but Carl Wilson just came on, 7th year out of LSU, playing that left defensive end spot. He was getting double teamed. Here's Stevie Anderson.
There he is, Forrest Gump. This is the first big play that Forrest hasn't made so far this season. He has a couple of long touchdown passes, 61 yards, 80 yards. That time, Boomer Esiason just a little long. Tough to time out those hitch-and-go patterns. And And that's what Stevie Anderson ran that time.
2nd and 10 from the 26. Anderson, Carpenter are the wideouts. Esiason gives it off to Adrian Murrell. Nothing doing. Let's see if the Jets want another crack at it. Pete Carroll, former assistant coach for the Vikings, the Bills, North Carolina State, Ohio State, getting his first crack as the head. And now he takes a timeout with 3 seconds to go. Well, you lost about 12 seconds there.
New York, number 3.
Why would you do that? You wasted 12 seconds before you take the timeout.
I'm thinking. I suppose you could argue that now you take one shot down the field. Maybe you get a fluke play, a fluke kind of a touchdown. Maybe you get pass interference and a cheap field goal at no risk to giving the ball back to the Buccaneers. But the better option certainly is.
In other words, you don't know either.
No, I'm fishing. I mean, this guy's a professional head coach in the National Football League. I'm out here guessing. I've got no clue what he was doing.
He wasted 12 seconds before the timeout. Now they've got 1 second left to go on the clock. So what? Unless Esiason throws it about 71 yards.
Well, remember the game or the half cannot end on a defensive foul. So if they get defensive pass interference down to about the 30, you get a chance to line up and kick a field goal. I don't know.
I think Pete was asking the linesman, now what was that play where Dilfer lined up behind the guard? What is that? 1 second to go. Esiason with a flood to the right.
How's the arm look?
Arm looks like he threw it into double coverage. It is caught down at the 25-yard line by Rob Carpenter, but time has expired.
You don't think there's any second guessing going on over in the Jets booth right now? If they complete that pass with saving the timeout, go to the hurry-up offense, they've got 3 points out of it.
Absolutely. Michael talking to, well, Pete Carroll's not happy about something. Maybe he couldn't get, maybe Pete was signaling for the timeout, and Boomer or the wide receivers never saw it. We're at halftime. The Bucs leading the... He was both book and street smart, savvy, tough, dogged tough. He was a colonel in the Air Force and would marry his cherished wife, Joy, and raise 2 children. Then in 1976, he helped put Tampa on the pro sports map. Only through his lobbying would the city be awarded 2 Super Bowls. He was a pillar among the NFL hierarchy and most respected and revered. The Bucs' one-loss record means nothing when viewed from afar. The arts, medicine, have a charity? Call Culverhouse. When you think of Mr. C, think of common, as in common touch. Close as in close friend. Contributor, one of the biggest. Compassionate, character, and class.
Half staff, but he said people could agree, disagree with how Mr. Culverhouse handled this franchise, but in every conversation I ever had with the guy, he never came in yelling or screaming. He was always encouraging us as a staff, always encouraging the players, wanted the very best for those guys, and you can certainly feel the loss here in Tampa Stadium tonight. And Mr. Culverhouse was a guy that very competitive, always wanted to win at anything he did. And the other thing Sam said was that when he was hired, he said, Sam, the only thing that in my life that I feel like that I haven't been successful doing is running this football team. Now I want you to do that for me. So Sam is saying, I feel a great burden now that we need to have a good season this year.
I think one thing that people forget is that without Mr. Culverhouse, there is no football team here, and there's no National Hockey League team. The NHL would have never expanded and come here without the NFL being here first. And without Mr. C, no franchise, no 2 Super Bowls. 6-0 is our score. The Jets' final preseason tune-up. Likewise, of course, for Tampa Bay. You look at those halftime stats, time of possession almost triple.
Yeah, I thought the Buccaneers dominated in the first half. If you're Sam Wyche, your concern now is your red zone offense. 3 times inside the 10-yard line, only coming away with 6 points. That's not what you want to have happen in the final preseason game going into opening day.
The other thing to keep in mind, the other numbers, 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, that's cut-down day, where all the teams have to be down to 53 players. Husted from the 30. Orlando Parker, 89, is back deep, and this will be Aaron Glenn. They'll go the other way. Pretty good return across the 21-yard line. Chased out by Demetrius DeBose.
That time, Tony Covington losing contain on his kickoff return. You have to stay wide, wider than the widest, as they say out there. And Tony wanting to go in and make a tackle, lost the contain, allowing the cutback.
The all-time leader in touchdown passes for the Eagles of Boston College was 72, Glenn Foley. Comes in 5 out of 8, 33 yards. I watched some highlights on SportsCenter last night, though. Pretty good guy, Doug Flutie. He kind of enjoys that big field up in Canada, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
He threw for about 1,500 yards last night.
Been amazing.
The Eskimos or the Posse or one of those funny teams. Inside handoff, blocking on the left side, Roger Duffy in his 5th year out of Penn State. Adrian Murrell got the call. Anthony Johnson, 32, is also in there.
I watched Glenn Foley last year pull off one of the great upsets in college football and really handed Florida State the national championship with the game that Foley and the Boston College had against Notre Dame in South Bend. I had the pleasure of calling that game. It was perhaps the best football game I've ever seen in my life.
And you Gators are tough. Somebody always hands those Seminoles something, don't they?
My apologies.
2nd and 5 from the 27. Foley, 5 out of 8 in the preseason. Fired with a little too much heat on it, looking for Rob Carpenter in his 4th year out of Syracuse. Big East to the Big East on that play.
And the Jets are really working almost exclusively underneath. They've taken a couple of shots down the field, but we haven't seen that intermediate range passing game. I don't know if they're having problems with their offensive line or not, but we've seen the very short passes and the very long passes usually indicative of protection problems.
Mike Magruder, free agent from San Francisco, led the 49ers last year in interceptions, checks in. Bucs in the nickel defense on 3rd and 5, and goodbye, Mr. Foley. Hello, Santana Dotson.
Like I said, usually indicative of protection problems. That time, Sia Pooley, Mala got caught up in the stunt down inside. Santana Dotson taking the outside route, and Mala could not catch up.
So we will see Brian Hansen again. Tyree Davis is back deep, and the Bucs should come out of this with great field position again. 13:30 and counting in the 3rd. Good kick, almost a line drive. Davis, no return. Good coverage on the specialty teams. Marcus Turner, 23, a reserve cornerback down there quickly after that 41-yard punt. And that is right around Hansen's average. Erickson back in.
How about the defense so far of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? We saw it last week against Dan Marino. They are absolutely pitching a shutout here tonight against this New York Jets offense. They have now dominated for about 10 straight quarters that we've watched.
Ever since they've gone to that Bucco defense, again, the Buccaneers under Floyd Peters have been allowing about less than 80 yards per quarter. Erickson to put it up on the first snap he takes in quarter number 3. Wide open, 1st down and more. Armstrong, the tight end, inside the 30. Pat Terrell was hanging on.
Good vision there by Craig Erickson. Rolling out to his right. Finds Ty.J. Armstrong coming back across the field. Just a short little movement inside the pocket. Ty.J. Armstrong, ever since they started talking about playing him at tackle, started playing a little better at tight end.
Yes, I've heard enough about that. Jackie Harris, of course, will be the starting tight end. He's not seeing action after that injury in the Dolphin game, but he'll be ready against the Bears. 1st and 10 from the 29. Brett really hammered. I'm not so sure he fell forward on that one.
I think Eric Rhett missed the hole. That time Charles McRae pulling across the line of scrimmage with a kickout block on the right side, and Eric Rhett basically stayed up the middle. I think that's a misread by the rookie. See the kickout block coming, and now Eric Rhett takes it back inside.
I'm not so sure he didn't get his face mask grabbed by one of the interior linemen to pull him back in. Erickson, 8 of 13, 99 yards. 2nd and 10. Craig tosses it out. Willie Green, big night for Willie. Dances down across the 20-yard line.
Boy, if there's any pressure on Craig Erickson as far as having the $16 million man behind him, you just can't tell it. He's been sensational, played absolutely great football throughout this exhibition season. I think many people expected him to lose a job to Trent Dilfer before the exhibition season was over, but he's been right on the money throughout this game and the others.
Sam has said he really has become a polished quarterback, which is a little unusual given the amount of playing time he's had. Penalty flags are down, and so too is Brett. Marvin Jones pushed him out of bounds. Johnny Greer's crew has been very busy.
Nice job that time by Anthony McDowell with the lead block.
Baseman, 54, defense.
Marvin Jones for the Jets. #1 draft pick last year out of Florida State. Bothered by that hip pointer that Chris alluded to. Watch the face mask coming right into your TV screen.
Well, hazard pay for our cameraman. Hope everything's all right. Great job. Channel 44, the guys have done a super job all the exhibition season.
From the 11, 1st and 10. Rhett, the running back. Wilson and Green are the wideouts. Motion by Armstrong. Rhett blocking on the right side. Sean Love, Mike Sullivan, Pete Pearson. Finally, Kurt Barber came over in his 3rd year out of USC, a converted left linebacker, now playing right defensive end.
Now, you know me, Jim, as a wide receiver, I'm not an advocate of violence. But I have to say I'm sort of enjoying watching the attitude of this Buccaneers team. We saw it last week. They took absolutely nothing off of that Dolphins team, and the same thing's happening tonight. Anytime they're getting a cheap shot, they're delivering one back.
I think you make a very good point. Sam was talking about it this week. He said, I think the Dolphins thought maybe based on what they saw last year, we were a little soft. Willie Green inside the 2-yard line in the grasp of Victor Green. And you know who made that story really bear some weight was Jackie Harris. When Green Bay came in here the second time last year, Jackie Harris was saying, hey, we saw a different Buccaneer team. They were in our face.
It's absolutely the truth. And now offensively, the Buccaneers starting to get it going. Once again, now down inside the 5-yard line. And they need a touchdown now. They do not need to come away with this drive a field goal. I think unquestionably, this is 4-down territory. If they don't get it here, Sam will go for it on 4th down.
How about this? Charles McCray is now a tight end. Royster wanted the touch, or is that McDowell? That's McDowell over there.
What happened on the play, the Jets blew the coverage. Marcus Turner did not go out on Anthony McDowell. So Craig Erickson simply raised up and tried to get him the football before Turner could get there. Unfortunately, Turner made up ground in a hurry and was able to force this play. There was no one out there on Anthony McDowell when they lined up.
So on 4th and 2s, Brzezinski will put it down. It has been the Michael Husted show. One from 23, another from 19. This is a chip shot from 21. 9-0 Buccaneers over the Jets. Their defense has been as impressive as their passing and running game. We'll take a timeout from Tampa Stadium and come back on your 44. As you look at some of the battles that we touched on back in the first quarter, I mean, do you see anybody emerging, anybody that you really like, getting ready for that Bears game and cut-down day on Sunday?
Well, I think one good sign is that Ty J. Armstrong is really reestablishing himself as the backup tight end. Not going to unsee Jackie Harris, though. And the other thing that I think has been good news offensively has been the play of the wide receivers. It had to be a question mark coming into the exhibition season with the injury to Lawrence Dawsey and also the injury to Courtney Hawkins. But I think the play of Lamar Thomas and Copeland and Charles Wilson and Willie Green,
number 27, join the run back,
has given Sam Wyche in this offense at least a comfortable feeling where they don't have to go out and make a trade or bring somebody else in to try and shore up the receiver position.
Monsoon-like rains before the game. It should have been a prelude of things to come for Pete Carroll. The Jets can't get anything going.
What kind of meal?
Jets 8 times for 63 yards. The ball's at the 16-yard line, 1st and 10. 9:29 to go in the third quarter. Foley stays in at quarterback. Richie Anderson, the running back. Kenny Shedd, 19 in, along with Ryan Yarborough, 87, rookie wide receiver. Yarborough, 6'2", 190, out of Wyoming. Couldn't hang on.
Boy, and I tell you, the Jets quarterbacks cannot even get off a pass without somebody knocking them on the ground. That time, Mark Wheeler coming up and laying a pop on Glenn Foley. Pete Carroll has to be concerned with what he's seen so far out of this Jets offense. Lloyd Peters has to be loving what he's seen.
Not much on the running play. Talking about Pete Carroll and Floyd Peters, during the first 4 years that Floyd Peters was the defensive coordinator in Minnesota, the Jets head coach, Pete Carroll, was the secondary coach for the Vikings. Well, those two together, Minnesota earned the NFL's top defensive ranking, both 88 and 89, so they know each other pretty well.
That was some defense they had there. Then, of course, Pete came over as the defensive coordinator under Bruce Coslett and took over himself as the head coach when Bruce was fired last year.
Mike Magruder in is the nickelback, number 38 in his 5th year out of Kent State. Bucs looking at 3rd and 4 on the defensive set, and they come with a blitz. Foley reads it, dumps it off for the first down to Yarborough. Mayhew on the coverage. Who is the best quarterback you ever played with at picking up the blitz and dumping it off like this?
I think Kenny Anderson was the guy that could read defenses as well as I've ever played with. Had the pleasure of playing with Dan Fouts in a Pro Bowl game one time, and you're talking about a master. This guy, it was like a board game to him. He was outstanding, but it's going to be hard for me to put him above Kenny Anderson because Kenny's my boy.
Jets get a first down. Baxter and Thornton, 84 and 80, double tight end. Lone running back, Murrell. Tony Covington with pressure by Lonnie Martz.
I tell you, it's so good to see Tony Covington back playing the way that he is. I really had my doubts as to whether or not he was ever going to be able to fully come back. He missed 92 with that knee injury, missed last season with the back injury, and he looks like he is all the way back to form. And that is a huge plus for this Buccaneers defense.
Foley on 2nd and 12. Penalty flags down in the line, and the Jets want a flag because over the back was Mayhew on the back of Kenny Shedd.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, shot clock, number 74, offense, still 2nd down.
Everett McIver, 315 pounds of fun and sun, out of Elizabeth City State with the chop block.
That's the new rule that they put in to try and protect those defensive linemen. Once an offensive lineman is engaged with a defensive lineman, another lineman cannot cut his feet, and that's exactly what you saw there. The center coming over after McIver had his man set up, the 15-yard penalty.
I'll give you my 44 quiz in a moment. 2nd and 26. Foley in all kinds of trouble. Chased by Carl Wilson. They just signed him, and he's only supposed to play about 6 or 8 plays. Chased out by Nickerson. All right, we talked about Elizabeth City State. I have one of these a game for you. Who is the other famous graduate of Elizabeth City State from the National Football League? Jethro Pugh.
Thank you for that interesting tidbit. Like I'm going to get that one.
7 years out of LSU. Yeah, he's gassed.
He's having a little problem with the oxygen supply. It is warm now. When that rain gives out, those hummocks start to fly. It'll be tough. A little jet lag probably too.
From the 29, Foley looks at 3rd and 11. Gives it the pump fake, pulls it back down, not getting any help from his receivers. Dives down at about the 38.5-yard line. Carl Wilson and Tony Covington. Well, if Carl Wilson was not in shape coming into this game, just signing on, he will be by the end of the game.
He's getting some good pressure anyway on Glenn Foley. Everyone back in man coverage, dropping into their zone protections, chasing receivers, and all of a sudden the young buck out of BC starts taking off. But once again, the Buccaneers defense doing their job and have shut down.
You know, I'll give Wilson a lot of credit. He could have just run by the offensive player there and stayed in the backfield rather than give the pursuit after being gassed on the previous play. Gave it a nice effort. Wilson did. Hansen drops it, picks it up, flags are down. Tyree Davis says get away, waves everybody away, picks it up.
Obviously what happens there is that once the punter drops the ball, the linemen are so used to counting 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, and then taking off down the field. You drop the ball, ineligible men are going to run down the field.
A 36-yard punt, and we will do it all over again.
An eligible member of the kicking team, downfield, number 50, is declined. First down.
It seems we're all
Leading the Jets, Pete Carroll. In just his 4th game as a head coach, the Jets come in with a record of 2-1. They lost out to Detroit. Then they beat Philadelphia by 10. They beat the Giants 13-10. The Giants without Phil Simms. On 1st and 10, Dilfer stays in. Another penalty flag. Eric Rett gets the call. See, we had 202 yards in penalties last week at Joe Robbie. We are headed that direction tonight.
A lot of times those officials in the final couple of preseason games like to emphasize their points. Like to get it through your thick skull, as they like to say.
Offense. Still first down.
But you're not allowed to do certain things, and then all of a sudden the regular season starts, and they're a little easier. Number 89,
Harold Bishop,
the
rookie. They got him for holding. Doesn't look too bad there.
It looks like he may have maybe even hooked a face mask to help him along the way.
The last time that the Buccaneers had a shutout in the preseason back in 1959 against Atlanta. 89. Incomplete. Wilson really got popped. Pat Terrell, 5th year out of Notre Dame. That's the way they came out of the tunnel there, the Golden Dome.
Yeah, really. Terrell came out of from the Rams organization, a free agent this year. Boy, this is what defensive backs live for.
Wilson was actually lucky he got his shoulder and his ribs down because those ribs were exposed. Dilfer, 2nd and 20 from the 17. Wilson and Green. Wide left and right. Rhett stays in behind Sullivan, Love, McCray, Gruber, and Pearson. Good read. Dilfer unloads to the 25. A pickup of 7. Long way to go. Now they say incomplete.
Charles Wilson can't believe it.
Did he trap it?
The official thought so. See if he gets his hands down underneath. Almost have to lay those hands on the carpet. That's a bad call. It's just a bad call. Well, we've seen 2 bad calls.
I want to
go
see that
against
one
the
again.
Buccaneers tonight.
That might be a short hop.
I didn't see it.
Dilfer, 3rd and 20 from the 17. Harris and Rhett are the running backs. Pressure, the screen. Rhett to the 22 in the grasp of the ex-Irishman, Pat Terrell. So we will see Straczynski. Another look at the screen.
I thought Mike Sullivan had a chance here to make a block early and maybe get this screen pass underway. Number 67, the guard out in front. And he bypassed his guy. Charles McCray did a nice job cleaning up the corner, but that play looked like it had something going for a moment.
Straczynski averaging 41 yards per kick. His longest has been 54 yards in the preseason. Aaron Glenn is back deep. Aaron Glenn was high on the Bucs draft list until Trent was available, huh?
Sam Wyche thought it was possible that he was going to be wearing the orange and white tonight instead of the green and white.
So the Jets have about their best field position of the night. Tyree Davis down the football after that 36-yard punt. Jets ball. Tonight, Julie Brannon will be alongside with the original 10 o'clock news. Fast-paced, straight to the point. Julie Brannon and the 44 news at 10.
I never thought I would have a need for a 10 o'clock news, but now with my 3 children, it has become a must.
I'm glad it's the original 10 o'clock news. That recycled 10 o'clock news, that didn't fly. 3:57 to go in the third. 9-0 Bucs. Anthony Johnson, the lone running back. Foley getting a good workout. The youngster out of Boston College. Chidi Ahanatu had a good game last week against the Dolphins.
Ahanatu really pursued down the line that time, made a nice play. Well, when you get that kind of athletic ability out of your defensive lineman, can sure cover up for some mistakes. Chidi just simply outrunning the back on that one.
Jets offensive line, a league low 21 sacks last year, the fewest allowed by the Jets since '74. Second and 8 from the 43. Orlando Parker, the rookie, 89 from Troy State. Also James Thornton, nothing doing. Great penetration by Sean Price, 92, and he tripped Anthony Johnson.
Sean Price had a chance last year to contribute when Eric Curry went down with that ankle injury, and he made an impression. Started the year on the practice squad, but you can see he is hungry to make this team. And let's face it, now we've got the guys in the ball game that are competing for their right to play in the National Football League, and Sean Price knows that one helped.
Kind of explain this Bucco defense, the 4-2-5, and why it's different.
Well, basically all it is a nickel defense. Instead of having an outside linebacker in the game, you have an extra defensive back, that being Barney Buster.
Foley with a pretty good toss down at the 45-yard line. All kinds of pressure. Orlando Parker, and is ruled incomplete.
Charles Demery thought he had the pick on that one. Came up probably a little too casual with the football. Generally, you can tell by their reaction after the call whether or not he actually had it. I'd say Charles Demery went off that one.
You like the way the secondary has come on these 4 games, how they're playing more aggressively?
Absolutely. And in this league, every other team in the Central Division last year ranked in the top 6 in the National Football League defensively. The Buccaneers a year ago could not match them defensively. Now, I'm not so sure. This looks like a pretty strong team on the defensive side.
Tyree Davis anticipating, and Hansen with a good kick. Tyree Davis gets pounded at the 15. There are flags all over the field. It was Stevie Anderson out of Grambling, a 43-yard kick by Hansen. And Johnny Greer and his crew, they have been busy tonight. Total yardage in the game, the Bucs 232, the Jets 129.
We talked about how hard these guys are playing. This is like the stretch run for some of the bubble players, trying to make every single last-ditch impression that they possibly can, both on Sam Wyche and on Pete Carroll. And you're going to see some mistakes made on the over-aggressive side.
Jets getting ready for their opener against the Buffalo Bills up at Rich Stadium. Can Marv Levy get them back there a 5th time? What do you think?
I don't think so. They lost quite a few good football players.
Invalid fair catch signal. Number 1 on the offense. Ineligible man downfield on the kicking team, number 84. The penalty, offset, 4th down.
Kick it again. Tyree Davis. You have to get that arm fully extended when you're making the fair catch signal, and that time Tyree Davis giving it the half-hearted effort and sort of a judgment call. That time going against Tyree Davis, they gave the Jets and their cover team the benefit of the doubt.
When Sam was in his first year as the head man in Cincinnati, now Jets quarterback Boomer Esiason was the Cincinnati Bengals' 2nd-round draft choice. That's how long those two guys have been associated. Bucs have punted 5 times. I'm sorry. 5 penalties against the Bucs for 45 yards. The Jets 9 penalties for 77 yards. So 127 in penalties. Hansen with a beautiful kick. A spiral. Davis at the 18. Well, what we say, one of the gray areas was punt returning with Courtney Hawkins out. Tyree Davis certainly has done very well. James Thornton pumped him out. A 42-yard punt and a 16-yard return. Bucs ball when we come back. To go in the third. 17 minutes left in the preseason. Cutdown day, 4 o'clock on Sunday. They have to get down to 53.
You're looking at the two leaders on either side of the ball for the Buccaneers.
Dilfer, 6 out of 9 for 30 yards. Works with Wilson, Willie Green, Rhett, and Harris. Dilfer. Good gun. First down across the 45-yard line. Charles Wilson again. Marcus Turner back there in the coverage. Can't throw it any better.
Really was. He got away with it a little bit. A tad behind. Nice job of getting the hips around by Charles Wilson. And when you've got a gun like that, it gets out there so quickly, you can make that play.
A pickup of 13 on the completion. So Dilfer now is 7 out of 10 for 43 yards. Harris stopped by Mike Anderson. Clogged up the middle, the big rookie out of Nebraska.
We talked about the confusion at the running back position and the fact that Workman and Royster and Eric Redd are all going to get plenty of time at the tailback position. I think the same is probably going to be true with the wide receivers. They all appear to be about evenly matched.
2nd and 7. Jim Pine in at center. Harris motions. Dilfer. That'll get the crowd going. Gets the Bucs bench going.
And the young quarterback learned from his mistake in the first half. In the first half, when he got pressure, he stepped backwards. This time, he gets pressure from around the backside, steps up into the pocket, and now you have potential. Take off with the first down, and nice play.
And a good play by Charles McCray. After he bumped off his man, he saw that over on the left side, Scott Dill was having a problem, and he really was the one, McCray was, that threw the block that allowed Dilfer to turn the corner and pick up the yardage.
Timeout, Tampa, number 1.
First
this will
timeout.
be a 40-second timeout.
Taken by the Bucs. Home games coming up September the 11th against the Colts, September the 18th against the New Orleans Saints, and plenty of good seats on an individual basis are still available. Check with the Bucs Stadium ticket office or call Ticketmasters.
Well, we talked about some of the tough division opponents, and outside the division, of course, you got some pretty good football teams as well as you look up and down and see the quality of that schedule. But well, this division has really gone through some serious changes during the course of the offseason. Of course, Scott Mitchell now the quarterback with the Lions, Warren Moon with the Vikings, Sean Jones coming over to help that already tough number 2 ranked defense of the Green Bay Packers. The Bears obviously going to be better than they were a year ago with Eric Kramer, the former Lions quarterback. This is going to be an interesting division to see who jumps out early.
A division in transition.
May just be the Buccaneers after what we've seen out of their defense.
Dilfer trying to set that screen up, gets it off to Rhett. Picks up a tough yard. 2nd and 9 coming up. Alfred Oglesby in his 4th year out of Houston.
Good job on the screen. The offensive linemen, they're supposed to make contact. 1,001, 1,002. Jim Pine getting out in front. Charles McCray opening things up on the corner.
Time has expired in quarter number 3.
At the end of the
15
third
minutes
quarter.
left to go in the preseason on your Bucs station, Channel 45. Don't forget the Sam Wyche Report every Saturday night at 10:30. Out in preseason against the Atlanta Falcons in 1989, how important is it to Floyd Peters and to Sam to have a shutout?
Well, obviously, the very important work is already done. The most of the first-team defense now out of the game, so they've done a magnificent job and really to be congratulated. But now you know that Floyd Peters and the rest of those first-teamers on the sideline, they want the rest of the guys to protect this shutout.
Rudy Harris, Rhett in there for Dilfer. This one thrown absolutely perfectly. It was good coverage. Now they're saying it hit the ground at the 29-yard line. Charles Wilson has had 2.
Charles tried to make the sliding catch going out of bounds. Apparently the one hop, and Charles once again disagreeing. Trent Dilfer put the ball right on the sideline where you like to have it as a receiver, low and away.
Oh, man, that looked pretty good.
Yeah, they're going to, you know what they're going to say, though, that when he made that second clutch with the hand that he lacked control as he slid out of bounds. Trent thought he had it. Tries to get a little water out of his ear.
How about that kind of a touch when you can throw it that low, that far across the field?
It's a strong arm.
3rd and 9, look out.
And back.
Oglesby came crashing through. 4th year out of Houston, a free agent signed down this year, 6'4", 276 with a good penetration. So we'll see Straczynski again.
And to the best of my knowledge, this is the first sack given up by the Buccaneers offensive line. The time they brought 5 and finally got there.
High, beautiful kick. This one will hit at the 9 and roll dead. We talked about Danny's putting early on. He had 4 inside the 20. That's number 5. John Lynch down to cover it. Good specialty team. Good punt coverage team. And a good defense tonight.
See your Mazda dealer right now and get savings on the spot. For a limited time, Mazda is offering 3.9.
Out of bounds goes young Kenny Shedd, Northern Iowa.
And I've seen Jack Trudeau do some magical things in the past. He went into Philadelphia as a backup quarterback, and after Jeff George was injured, knocked off a very good Eagles team about 3 or 4 years ago. Did the same thing coming off the bench to the Bengals last year, so he's no stranger to come from behind wins.
Shedd's 3rd catch of the preseason. Trudeau keeps it on the ground. Carl Wilson getting a good look tonight. Number 91 just signed on. Free agent from San Francisco.
Also auditioning for a referee's job, as he lets you know it's holding against the other guys. He still has that nose stuck up in the air a little. You know he's looking for some Florida oxygen in his lungs.
Holding, 74, offense. Still 2nd down.
Everett McIver out of Elizabeth City State, along with Jethro Pugh.
Well, the 2 things I've seen from this Jets team tonight is that they've got problems on their offensive and defensive line. Not very good protection up front, and defensively a little undersized.
2nd down and 8. Trudeau, shadow of the end zone, incomplete. Dribbling it at the 15-yard line was Orlando Parker. I wonder if there are several of the Jets that maybe share your opinion about the firing of the head coach and Pete Carroll's ascension to the head coaching job.
I don't think that the players themselves have a problem. They're just looking to make their paycheck. But anytime you go through that kind of a transition, even though Pete Carroll was on the staff and he retained a lot of the members of that staff, there still is a transition period. And right now the Jets offensively without Bruce Coslett look a little lost.
Jets are 3 out of 9 in 3rd down conversion. Trudeau, good gun. Penalty flags are down. There are 2 of them. Kenny Shedd had a step on Martin Mayhew, and they caught him. Coverage wasn't that bad.
Martin Mayhew's there, but Kenny Shedd is a guy that can absolutely fly. 4.3 speed.
Parker was way away from the play.
Now, this was not on your left side of the screen. That Kenny Shedd was not involved in the infraction, and Martin Mayhew, obviously beaten on the play, made the good decision, go ahead and take the penalty in that situation. Fortunately for him, didn't have to. Aren't many people can run by Martin Mayhew. Kenny Shedd with the great speed.
the embarrassing side.
Trudeau on 3rd and 8. Will there be another flag? Well, there's 3 of them. Over the back, Magruder was, of Anthony Johnson.
That, as they say, was a no-brainer. Magruder, the free agent
Pass
from the
interference.
49ers.
38, defense, first down.
That also was a huge penalty. That was a 3rd down and 9, and you give up the automatic first down. Looked like Magruder may have been a little out of position at the snap of the ball. You saw him almost head up to the quarterback and then flying to the outside and just got caught up in the shuffle, probably happy just to get away with the pass interference call after being a bit out of position.
Johnny Greer and his crew spending more time together than Michael and Lisa Marie. Collision at the 12-yard line. Fred Baxter, 6'3", 260 out of Auburn, bumping into John Lynch.
Also, Demetrius DeBose, the backup middle linebacker behind Artie Nickerson, getting a good solid shot. That's the way you want to square up and make a tackle. John Lynch, I saw him play against Notre Dame when he was with Stanford, and the guy was remarkable. He made more plays in that game than any free safety I think I've ever seen. Certainly knows how to lay a hit on somebody.
2nd and 6 from the 12. Talk about gang tackling. You want it from this Bucs defense. Lynch, Magruder, they all converge. Eric Curry was talking about it. Watch it from ground level. He says, we play as a unit now. That's the key to a good defense. When you talk about a great defense, you talk about great units, not individual players. That's what it takes.
I have to be honest. I get a few chills going through me when I hear this Buccaneers crowd react the way that they did after that play. You're starting to see signs of hope from the Buccaneers crowd, and maybe that's something that hasn't been around for a while. When you can get a little home field advantage going for your football team, it adds a dimension.
Timeout, New York.
He even said it like they say it in New York. New York. I thought it was Swartz. 11:31 to go. We've got a 9-0 game. Bucs looking for that shutout. Dotson at the other end. So this is a kind of unusual defense, Chris.
Going to the dime, at least 6 defensive backs on the field, and maybe 7.
Movement by Matt Willis out of USC.
Ball start, 77, offense. Still 3rd down.
Willis trying to get a little head start on Santana Dotson. Can't say that I blame him after the way that Dotson's lived in the backfield tonight.
This is Willis's little boy, Matt, 6'8", 305. One of the things Santana was saying, they've been working all preseason, all training camp on getting off the ball quicker. Caught, dropped at the 20-yard line. Looking for Yarborough. When a defensive player says that, I mean, how much quicker can you get off the ball? What's he really saying?
Well, obviously, the quicker you can get off the ball, the better chance you have, especially against those bigger defensive tackles, of making a play. And also, you create problems like we just saw, where those guys will flinch from time to time. And once again, this Buccaneers defense forcing the Jets to go in reverse. This is not the first drive we've seen from the Jets tonight that ended up with negative yards.
Sam's all the way down at the 20-yard line with his rain slicker on, yelling and screaming. Charles Wilson, 84, is back at the Jets' 45-yard line. Oh, this is a beautiful kick. All the way back at the 39 of the Bucs. A 6-yard return, making an 11-yard return. Kenny Shedd was down there on the coverage. So a 58-yard kick and a nice 11-yard return. And we will see Casey Weldon, who played very well against the Dolphins last week.
And here's the thing a great defense can give to your football team. Now when you come out, Casey Weldon will lead this offense from the 50-yard line. The percentage of scores that occur when an offense starts from the 50-yard line or further in, 50% of the time an NFL offense will put points on the board. Let's see if the Buccaneers can get it done.
Casey last week, 4 out of 6, 74 yards and 1 touchdown. Charles Wilson fumbles the ball, but it's out of bounds. It was stripped by Pat Carroll. Dilfer, 8 of 13, 43 yards, closed the book on him for the preseason. One of the things Casey was saying, based on Sam's rotation and job opportunity, I'm not grading the papers, I'm just taking the test.
Well, Casey Wells played well. He's, of course, out of Florida State, second in the Heisman balloting a few years ago, and tonight's attendance. The number looks a little small, but if you were around for the beginning of this one with the thunderstorms, we're talking about 36,000 brave souls that showed up in these metal bleachers.
There's another 12,000 outside in metal canoes. Rhett, Harris are your running backs. Davis and Wilson are the wideouts. Armstrong at tight end. Jim Pine, the rookie out of Virginia Tech, in at center. Casey Weldon to the tailback. Rhett pounded down from behind after a short pickup of 2. 3rd and 12. Glenn Drees on the hit. 3rd year out of Houston. A great special teamers for the Jets. And he might have had the wind knocked out of him the way he chopped down Rhett.
Well, that was some lick.
Watch Drees, 50, and Kurt Barber, 98.
Eric Rhett thought he had something going, and then all of a sudden, hello. Don't get too many of those in college with defensive linemen running you down from behind.
Barber is the injured Jet. We'll take a timeout on year 44 and come back to Tampa Stadium for all 4 years.
Not even close. More like the guy that just ran behind there, the mascot.
3rd and 11 from the 48. Inside of 10 minutes when the ball is snapped. Moody Harris, the lone running back. Motioned by Rhett to the near side. Casey sidearms it. Looks for Eric. Nope. And good pressure by Alfred Oglesby.
Well, so much for my stat about getting the ball at the 50-yard line. I thought Casey had a chance that time to make the throw a little bit earlier. He had Eric Rhett quickly out in the flat. I think he started and stayed on the downfield receivers just a second too long, and it cost him on that one.
Sam did not look like he was very happy with the selection there.
That was, you need to get rid of that one.
Kenny Shedd is back deep. Straczynski and what he's done tonight. His average in the preseason around 41 yards per kick. This one is not particularly deep either. The fair catch at the 19-yard line. So Jets ball, 9:38 and counting, following a 32-yard punt by Straczynski. He was punting better in the first 3 games. He has not looked particularly sharp tonight.
And you have to love, can you hear the chant by the crowd? Na, 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 na. Hey, 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 goodbye. This is like a college game.
Boomer will open things up a week from Sunday as the Jets travel to Rich Stadium to take on the Buffalo Bills. Boomer Esiason in his mid-30s. Terry Williams, Bill Packel, Ronnie Lott, Art Monk, Nick Lowry. Jets with a lot of age. Getting a little long in the tooth, but Pete Carroll wants the experience and the teaching ability of those veterans.
I suppose most teams in the National Football League now going to the younger, inexpensive players in this year of the salary cap. And don't be surprised if the Buccaneers don't have to go back in and renegotiate a few deals with these veteran players that either they get waived or they have to renegotiate down. That's what the game's come to now.
Trudeau, 3 out of 7, 21 yards. Yarborough was out there. I was talking to Rich McKay before the game. He said there are 12 to 15 players out there that are available right now that nobody in the National Football League can afford. That could start for any of those 12 to 15 teams. You just can't afford them.
That's the big problem that I have with the salary cap in the National Football League, that for the first time in the history of this league, because of money, the best possible players are not playing the game.
Caught and out of bounds at the 45-yard line. Yarborough with a nice catch in front of Roger Jones.
course, the example that everybody will point towards is Phil Simms with the New York Giants. I did the game in Germany, an exhibition game, and Dan Reeves made it very obvious that but for the salary cap, Phil Simms would be sitting here next to me. He probably would be my starting quarterback. And Dan said that, I'll be honest with you, the number one reason we were able to turn it around last year with the Giants was Phil Simms, and now because of the salary cap, he's no longer a part of the team.
2nd and 5. Incomplete, up at the 42-yard line. Lonnie Martz was there on the coverage. Fred Baxter was the intended receiver. Lonnie Martz all over the field.
Boy, did you see Lonnie Martz closing on this play? This is the added dimension of speed that he gives you. Watch him just cut in front of the receiver and break that one up. Floyd Peters has to absolutely love that kind of athleticism on the part of Lonnie Martz.
His
Beautiful
nickname
play.
in high school back in New Orleans was Bruiser. They tried to make him a fullback. Mars was actually cut from the team. Then he was brought back as a defensive player, and he's got a tattoo with a snorting bull on his right bicep that says Bruiser because of the misunderstanding. It said it's sentimental.
Tattooed one of the Jets on that last one.
That was Anderson, the rookie. Johnny Greer.
Going to have tendonitis after this one.
Illegal hands to the face. 24. Defense is declined. First down.
Getting more airtime than Julie Brandon on the news at 10.
Very nice tie-in. I like that. The cheap promo. Very good.
Line of scrimmage, the 48-yard line. 7:51 to go. Bucs, of course, travel to Chicago. Dave Wanstead rebuilding with the Bears. I think he's got some horses there this year, don't you? A little fake, looping out of the backfield goes Richie Anderson. Shy of first down yardage. Eric Kramer, the new quarterback in Chicago, replacing Jim Harbaugh, and they're excited about him. They like the way he looks in the huddle. He's composed, and the offensive linemen talk about the eyes of Eric Kramer. They're starting to believe.
Well, the big thing about Eric Kramer is he's not going to make the silly mistake. He is a guy that has had a very low interception percentage throughout his career. Took that team on into the playoffs a couple of years ago, and they were excited. The Bears coaching staff, Dave Wanstead, felt like that he was the one they wanted. They went after him immediately.
Trudeau keeps it on the ground. Anthony Johnson behind David Ware and Cal Dixon. For the Bucs right now, Jeff Brady is in at left linebacker. John Lynch over on the right side. Demetrius DuBose in the middle. He could start for a lot of teams, Demetrius, in the National Football League. Street smart.
Very athletic. Always very enthusiastic. Not going to get a lot of playing time behind Hardy Nickerson.
Sam very happy with Demetrius DuBose and his overall aggressiveness through the first 3 games. Diving down to the 35-yard line and picking up a first down goes Anthony Johnson, Mike Magruder there.
That time Jeff Brady coming on a blitz looked like he was going to meet Johnson in the backfield and just overshot it by one hole. Uh-oh. Johnny Greer.
Johnny Greer.
Tampa. Number 2.
We'll get a close-up of Johnny Greer.
Johnny Greer announcing that Cincinnati had just taken a timeout. They are in orange uniforms, but not those orange uniforms.
The Jets and the Bucs. And the referee says timeout Cincinnati. You figure it out. It's the preseason. 6:25 to go. All 3 teams take a timeout. First game is in Cincinnati. What do you think?
Oh, a humbling experience even for the referee.
Even Johnny laughed it off. He's a good guy. From the 35-yard line, Fred Baxter. Touchdown. Kind of changes the complexion of things. You're going along. It's a 9-0 laugher. You're thinking shutout. 1 play. His first NFL catch, Fred Baxter, was a touchdown against Miami. Watch it. Good speed.
That time Jeff Brady appeared to be in man coverage and simply could not keep up with Fred Baxter. Anytime you get that tight end linebacker mismatch going, makes it tough. Pete Carroll happy to see anything on the board, but let's face the facts. That was against the second and third team Tampa Bay defense.
Quite a guy in there right now, the sidewinder. 15 years out of Dartmouth, Nick Lowry. He's been around for a long time. He is very active in the community. A lot of money for charity in Kansas City for each and every extra point and field goal. If the Jets were looking for a community leader, you couldn't find anybody any better.
The Bucs come on a blitz. You see Demetrius DeBose blitzing. That leaves the other linebacker, Jeff Brady, in man coverage. Fred Baxter a little too quick.
Lowry from the 30. It's Green. Oh, boy, if he had made one move to the right and gotten it outside, it would have been 6. Marcus Turner back there. Of course, Lowry, who's 38 years of age, was working with one of the soccer players, Tony Meola. They were hoping that Meola might make the team, but what was it, 1 of 5 got into the end zone for Tony?
Well, he was going to be their long-distance kickoff man. It's a concern for every team in the National Football League. Several teams are considering keeping a guy just to kick the ball off. They can get it down close to the end zone because most of the more accurate field goal kickers don't have that kind of distance.
Casey Weldon is back in there. 1st and 10 from the 33. 6:02 to go in the game. They'll keep it on the ground to Rudy Harris. Work on the clock a little bit.
And now finally the Jets showing a little emotion on the field. Buccaneers offense needs to respond with a drive here to allow that defense to sit for a few minutes.
Kurt Barber made the stop, number 98 for the Jets. Bucs are going to need a couple of first downs. Work on the clock. Copeland and Thomas back in. So Casey getting a few of the first stringers. Pete Pearson, I think, might have moved, number 69, the rookie.
False start, 69, offense. Still second down.
Sam says of Pete, he is more of a player on game day than he is in practice.
All right. I guess that means he's not a very good practice player. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Well, one of the things Pete was complimenting is the work of Tim Irwin, who is not here because of the passing of his father, but he said that the ex-Minnesota Viking great has really been kind of tutoring him and bringing him along.
All right.
Don't go to sleep on me now. We got 5 minutes to go. Weldon. That is picked off at the 36-yard line by Pat Carroll, and that's a ball that never, ever should have been thrown. 2 bad decisions by Casey in a row on the previous alleged drive and this one.
Offense, illegally downfield. It's decline. First down.
Lamar Thomas thought that Casey Weldon was in trouble. This is the scramble drill for the wide receivers. Generally, the outside guy is taught to just take off down the field. This was a deep comeback route, and Casey Weldon just simply let that one get away from him. I don't know if it was miscommunication or just a poorly thrown ball, but he's getting an earful from Sam Wyche right now.
So the interception gives the Jets the ball with 4:48 to go, and like we said, after that scoring strike of 35 yards from Jack Trudeau to Freddie Baxter, yeah, I'd say that's an earful. Casey's saying, "No, wait a minute, I thought you were going to do this." And Lamar's saying, "No, I thought."
You see what Lamar Thomas did there? He stuck out his hand. That is Sam Wyche's signal for, I am taking off down the field. Don't expect me to come back. That time he stuck out his hand and came back. So maybe Casey Weldon off the hook.
Trudeau. Incomplete. Good pressure by Carl Wilson. I'll tell you what, for a guy that just signed on, I mean, they just turned him loose tonight, and he's getting a heck of a workout, and he's responded.
He probably has a bit of a dazed look on his face in the huddle, but when it comes to getting after the quarterback, he starts well down inside, then scrambles back, gets in Jack Trudeau's face, and forces him to make an errant throw. We've called his name 3 or 4 times. That's about all you can ask for out of a defensive lineman.
Now, you give him a week to work out here in this humidity.
In a playbook,
He'll be like a wide receiver. He'll be down about 180. Trudeau, 8 of 14, 84 yards, and the scoring strike. Middle was open. Not very long. Now nobody's open. Incomplete, a dribbler at the 42-yard line. Dimry was there. 4:32, clock is stopped.
Jack Trudeau almost making the same mistake that Casey Welton made just a few moments ago. Now a fairly significant third down play inside of 5 minutes to go. The Buccaneers defense with a chance to hand the ball back over to the offense, and maybe they can run out the clock.
Magruder checks in. There's Dimry on the last play. So Trudeau needs 10 to keep the drive alive. 4:32 when the ball is snapped. Bucs nursing a 2-point lead. Jack back, middle's open, dumps it to the 40, and it'll be shy of first down yardage. Ryan Yarborough, the rookie out of Wyoming. Second round pick this year. They like him.
Good conversion on the ball that time by the Buccaneers. 3 of them right around the ball, and made sure that that first down was not made.
Now, this is interesting.
Well, you've got to expect the Jets here. 4th down and very short, about 2 or 3, and they're going to challenge Floyd Peters and his Bucs defense in the crowd. Their time.
Santana Dotson is checked in. Jets need 3. Penalty flags are down. Dimry was there. I really hope that we've got the replay of this like on a wide shot, because this was a pick. This was clearly a pick.
Holding, 39, defense, first down.
Anytime you get into a man coverage situation, you will see those wide receivers crossing each other, trying to pick off the defensive man. That time, Charles Dimry, the object of the pick. Unfortunately, when he tried to get back into the picture, got the foul. There was no question about the pass interference call. Also, no question about the illegality of the pick by the Jets.
From the 47, first down after the penalty. Trudeau has Thornton and Shed, and more flags. Price jumped off sides.
False start, 74, offense.
Everett McIver. That's about the 4th penalty on Mr. McIver.
Now, when McIver flinched, if it had been the man over him that had moved, that potentially could have been called on the Buccaneers. But since the flinch took place because of a man outside of him, it's simply called on the offense.
157 yards in penalties so far. 202 last week in Miami. Little stutter step. And a pretty good,
Wow.
How did he get free? Look at the emotion over on the Jets sideline. Ronnie Lott out there waving a towel. He's going nuts.
Adrian Morrell led this team in rushing last preseason, leads this team in rushing again this preseason, and he has been making runs like this throughout the exhibition season. He has been simply sensational, 4th on the team in rushing last year. It's going to be difficult for them to keep him out of the lineup.
What a move. Look at the move he put on Hardy Nickerson.
This is just a sensational effort. That's a great run. That's a big-time NFL run.
2:47 to go. On 1st and 10, Johnson. And I'll tell you who's in there. Chidi Ahanotu, Dotson, Nickerson, Stanley, Wilson, Price, Dimmery, Mayhew, Carter, Everett, Magruder, 14 yards with all of them.
There's a few first-teamers in there now, and Floyd Peters does not want to see this game get away. Anthony Johnson, who came over from the Colts, he has been almost more of a receiver the last few years for the Colts than he has been a running back. Of course, the Colts, the worst team in the NFL for the last 3 or 4 years running as far as rushing the football, and now Anthony Johnson comes over to help with this team's passing game.
Of course, for the Jets, a field goal could win it. Bucs have 3 field goals.
2 minute
Jets have a
warning.
touchdown. 2 minutes to go in the preseason. We'll come back to Tampa Stadium on your 44. For the situation, 3 Michael Husted field goals, a 9-0 lead. Things cruising along comfortably, and then Trudeau, 35 yards.
They have certainly picked up the pace the last couple of drives, gathering almost half of their yardage here in the fourth quarter.
Well, one of the things that Floyd Peters has the defense working on, creating more turnovers, forcing fumbles, get the interceptions, a bunch of sacks. He says that's what separates the great team. It's time for a turnover. Thornton and Baxter are in. The Jets go with double tights. Hole up the middle on the right side. McIver and Willis opening up the blocking for Anthony Johnson.